There's something happening here. This land is your land. If it takes them to tear the fascists down, down, down. There is power in our union. We fascists are bound to.
Welcome to TNZ Talk with radio veteran Tony Trupiano and Huffington Post blogger and writer at Liberals Unite, Richard Zombeck, where they do lean left, but always talk straight.
What's going down? What the hell is going down? Welcome to this Wednesday, August 3rd, 2016 edition of TNZ Talk. I'm going to find a way to truncate this. I'm Tony Trupiano, and joining me now is Richard Zombeck. Richard, of course, is a very gifted writer and professor of life, and we are TNZ. I don't know if I truncated it at all, but here we are. Z, good day to you, my friend. Hope you are well. And we are in simpatico with Stephen Colbert today.
Yes, we are. And you, sir, are a 25-year veteran of radio and political aficionado.
Well, thank you, sir, so very much. Listen, I mentioned Stephen Colbert for a reason.
Yeah.
He, during his monologue, said something along the lines of, I would like to get up one morning and say to myself, I don't have to talk about Donald Trump. Yeah.
Listen, I just put an article up on Liberals Unite, and when I mean just put an article up, it just published like 5 minutes ago. And it's about a video that was put together, a compilation video that was put together by the New York Times. And the title of my article is Unfiltered Rally Videos Expose Donald Trump's America. And the first paragraph is shouts of hang the bee. A word for a homosexual, the N-word, at Trump rally show what actually goes on at these events. And this is, I actually think I could be getting physically ill from just watching too much Trump.
It's okay. You don't have to get physically ill. Unfiltered voices from Donald Trump's crowds. Oh, my God.
Yeah, and the thing is that there's not even any parts that we could actually play on the show if we wanted to keep it clean.
Well, let's for a moment, and I don't think we don't have it, but VP candidate on the Republican side, Mike Pence, was in, I believe, Carson City, Nevada, doing a town hall, and a military mom got up and basically was not happy. The crowd booed her.
Yeah, I wrote about that too.
I'm going to repeat it one more time. The crowd booed her. Yesterday, Donald Trump basically kicks a woman with a crying baby out of a rally. The crowd cheered. I'll repeat that. Donald Trump kicked a woman and her baby out of a rally because the baby was crying, and the crowd cheered. Now, listen, let me give the phone number out again. We're getting more and more listeners all the time, right?
Yeah.
And so here we are at the beginning of the show. I want some comments from people. I mean, we've had some emails, and we appreciate that. We've had a couple donations, and I do mean a couple. But we'd love some comments. And so when you call this number, it will be you'll record, and we'll play your comments on the show. So the number, very simply, 559-898-2551. That's 559-TZ-TALK and the number 1. Again, very quickly, 559-898-2551. Would love some comments on Donald Trump. It's interesting because when...
Well, you know what? While you're giving the number out, Tony, let's just do a quick, TNZ Talk. Go to our website, tnztalk.com. You can find us, friend us, follow us, and find all the ways, as Tony mentioned, to support us. Click on the support tab up top. We do need financial donations, monthly support, things like that. Again, tnztalk.com. You can click on support, go to our Patreon page, and donate a monthly contribution.
Absolutely. And by the way, if we were right-leaning, we would be flush with cash.
We would have so much money we wouldn't even know. We would have a studio by now. I mean,
by the way, what do you make of Mike Pence endorsing Paul Ryan but Donald Trump not?
Well, I mean, Donald Trump said that Mike Pence can do what he wants. Do we really have to say that Trump's just an idiot? Or I mean, is that just kind of
no? We can assume it.
Yeah, that's kind of an assumption now, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing, because I wanted to. Josh Marshall over at Talking Points Memo. In fact, you called me before the show, and I said that there was a bit of hubbub about Donald Trump potentially dropping out of the presidential race. And Marshall makes a very good point. Let me just read a couple paragraphs of what he said, because this is... I find this to be interesting. Because there's on Facebook and everything, there's a lot of the, let's call them the lower level blogs and political websites that are jumping on this because it's good, clickbait, to say that Donald Trump is trying to get out of the race. And now the GOP is scrambling to a degree because they're buying into this rumor. And what are they going to do if he leaves? And how do the rules? And then even the media is talking about it a little bit. But here's what Josh Marshall has to say. So, quote, there's a lot of chatter this morning based on absolutely nothing. So far as I can tell, that Donald Trump might drop out of the presidential race. I emphasize, as far as I can tell, chatter based on nothing, but what I suspect is wishful thinking on the part of the Republicans. At the same time, reporters are quoting high-level Republicans' sources saying that in the next few days, top-tier Republicans might come out in opposition to Trump. I will totally believe it when I see it. The other paragraph that I want to read is this one. We've had Judge Curiel, Megyn Kelly, the banning of an entire religion from America's shores, the demand to deport 3% of the U.S. population, the Khan family, protester beatings. Tell me when to stop, okay? There's a lot more. And yet, what seems to have been the red line was Trump refusing to endorse Paul Ryan and John McCain in their Republican primaries. And he's absolutely right. This is where they draw the line.
The timing is there. Is the will. Is there? What are they holding on to? They are not holding on to the Republican brand at all, because it doesn't exist at this point. So what are they holding on to? Are they? Do they think that they can actually change Donald Trump?
Well, I mean, and how much of a lawyer? How many times do we have to hear them? I mean, Newt Gingrich, I think the other day, said something to the effect: if he would just stay on script, we would be all. Really? Is that what the president is? Is just you hand him a script and you say, "Hey, read this. Here, handsome dude, read this." Is that what we want in a president? Just a figurehead that's going to read a script that's written by the party? Or do we want someone that actually gets emotional in the right way, that actually makes decisions in the right way, that actually stands up in the right way, like we've had for the last 8 years? Or, do we want, if you just stay on script, I mean, I think we could win.
Well, again, you've got to consider the source, and the source there is Newt Gingrich. You've got to, and as I briefly was looking at headlines today, this morning when I was watching the news programs, the GOP's apoplectic. They don't know what to do, Z. They just don't know what to do. And
they completely lost it.
This is unprecedented. Now, listen, let's just be honest about this. As we see major Republicans turning to Hillary Clinton, and of course the hardcore Bernie people are going after her hard because of that, I think they're missing the larger point here. And Meg Whitman, who is the CEO of Hewlett-Packard Business, was a huge fundraiser for Mitt Romney in 2012, has committed not only to vote for Hillary Clinton, but to raise significant money for Hillary Clinton. She said, at some point, I had to put country before party.
Yeah.
I think that's the real point here. Now, listen, Hillary Clinton has her faults. There's no question about it. And yes, Donald Trump is making it easier for her. But I think at the end of the day, when we see the defections coming over to Hillary Clinton, it's not about some neocon move or, all the conspiracy theories that I read just before you and I went on air on my Facebook page. With, people providing links to obscure blogs and websites. This is about putting country before party. That I truly do believe that.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Now, I talked to somebody today, a hardcore Bernie supporter. You're going to love this. You're going to love this.
Oh no. I shouldn't be drinking anything, right?
No, you shouldn't. She said that Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton have conspired to do this so she could be elected. Because they're friends, after all. They go to weddings together. The Clintons were invited to his wedding for Melania and attended. He's donated to her. And therefore, they've now saying that they've conspired to create all of this chaos so that she can become president of the United States.
That conspiracy has been going on since day one. First of all, that's nothing new. I think he's doing all this so he can round up his 5 to 6 million television viewers and start his own cable network. But that's just me.
All right.
I just can't even. I don't even understand how this has gotten this far. I mean, I just don't get it. I just don't.
I have breaking news. And this is going to blow your freaking mind. You ready for this headline?
Maybe not.
I mean, I literally just got it. Donald Trump has all but erased his large fundraising gap with Hillary Clinton, mostly from small donations. Now, that's according to his campaign. But the party did bring in $82 million last month. She brought in $90 million. And they have $74 million cash on hand. And that's a lot of freaking money, Z.
Yeah, I can't...
Again, we have silenced him.
Yeah. I got nothing. I mean, I don't even know what to say.
This is a man, as I said to you on the phone this morning, that has literally offended every single category of American that you can mention. We don't need to go through the list, including now babies.
Yeah, I know.
And he's still within spitting distance of winning. and has raised $82 million.
I mean, aside from the obvious answers that we just have way too many uneducated, ignorant douchebags in this country, how?
Great question. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. All right, let's, because I think you and I could both use a couple-minute break. Let's go to some audio. And I think we need to start with what was huge news yesterday, and that was President Barack Obama in a press conference being very candid about Donald Trump. And I know that I made a big deal out of it with you yesterday, and again this morning, and again right now. I think this is an extraordinary exchange.
Yeah, so let's listen to this.
Yes, I think the Republican nominee is unfit to serve as president. I said so last week, and he keeps on proving it. The notion that he would attack a Gold Star family that had made such extraordinary sacrifices on behalf of our country. The fact that he doesn't appear to have basic knowledge around critical issues in Europe, in the Middle East, in Asia, means that he's woefully unprepared to do this job. And this is not just my opinion. I think what's been interesting is the repeated denunciations of his statements by leading Republicans, including the Speaker of the House and the Senate Majority Leader and prominent Republicans like John McCain. And the question I think that they have to ask themselves is, if you are repeatedly having to say in very strong terms that what he has said is unacceptable, why are you still endorsing him? What does this say about your party that this is your standard bearer? This isn't a situation where you have an episodic gaffe. This is daily and weekly, where they are distancing themselves from statements he's making. There has to be a point at which you say, this is not somebody I can support for President of the United States. Even if he purports to be a member of my party.
That is powerful stuff.
Well, and it's, I don't know that it's ever happened that a sitting president has lambasted a current nominee.
You know, let me tell you, I was watching Rachel Maddow last night, and she started the show by asking a simple question that I didn't, and you won't know the answer to unless you saw it. Did you see it?
I didn't.
Okay. The question was, the night before Obama's inauguration, what did he do? What did he do the night before his inauguration? Now, logic would dictate that, you know, he went to perhaps some kind of Democratic fundraiser or was hobnobbing with people that helped him get elected in his campaign, etc., right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. That's not what he did. He went to a tribute to John McCain.
Did he?
And gave
did he really?
Yes.
No kidding.
And gave an amazing speech in support, honoring the sacrifices that that former prisoner of war and senator from Arizona, who has been less than kind to that man, that's what he did the night before he was inaugurated.
That's something.
What does that tell you about Barack Hussein Obama?
Yeah.
It's a beautiful thing.
Oh, look at you! You shared my article.
Yes, I did.
And right here on you were actually able to multitask while we were talking. I'm amazed, Tony. You're showing some growth here, buddy.
I've learned from you, Professor.
I'm so proud of my little tonester.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, so the president says this remarkable thing, and it is remarkable. And, of course, the Trump campaign, well, Donald Trump specifically, treated right after, of course, something disparaging.
Yeah.
But we are still a week away from the Democratic National Convention talking about Gold Star families and Donald Trump's mistreatment of the cons.
Well, and you're little. I was gonna call her your girlfriend, but I realized that your taste has gotten better. Hallie Jackson is your new interest du jour.
Absolutely.
From MSNBC, thankfully, at least you've gone intellectual and pretty, not just
And Katie Kerr.
Yeah, Tur, you mean?
Katie Tur.
Katie Tur, yeah.
She's really amazing.
Yes, she is.
Anyway,
both of them,
my former
bright,
girlfriend,
good-looking, snarky,
honest.
Let's get back to your former girlfriend.
It's Katrina Pearson, who is the spokesperson for the Trump campaign, was on CNN and gave an interview to Wolf Blitzer. Well, Anderson Cooper had Mr. Khan on his program, and let's just get to that exchange. It's not very long.
Yeah, she's really something.
Trump spokesman Katrina Pearson also said today on CNN, we have the soundbite from her today. Let's listen into what she says.
I can understand. But surely you can understand the confusion, considering how Donald Trump never voted for the Iraq war. Hillary Clinton did. And then she didn't support the troops to have what they need. It was under Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton that changed the rules of engagements that probably cost his life. So I don't understand why it's so hard to understand why Donald Trump was confused about why he was being held responsible for something he had nothing to do with, while Hillary Clinton had everything to do with.
Katrina Pearson, as usual, thanks.
Pearson is clearly either confused about or simply ignorant of is that your son was killed in 2004. Donald Trump, Barack Obama and Hillary Clinton were not the president and the secretary of state in 2004. But I just wanted you to be able to respond.
Do I need to say anything? Lack of understanding, lack of factual correctness. It's just nothing but political vote pandering. They are trying to create this fear in people's mind. They have come up with this terms and these terminology that they continue to talk about without really knowing the facts about what they're talking.
Yeah, and you know what? Too, she was on later today, either today or yesterday, just completely making an ass of herself with Charlie Rose, and saying, "Well, I don't know how Mr. Trump is being blamed for this," and they're going, "We're not blaming you for Captain Khan's death. We're blaming him for chastising." The guy's parents. Well, and Hillary Clinton she wasn't even Secretary of State. Well, she voted for it, and Mr. Trump didn't even vote for it. And actually, someone did bring up to her, it's like, well, he had no business voting for it anyway because he wasn't an elected official at the time. I mean, it's completely ludicrous that the conversations that you have, and you're watching this and you're going, how is this even happening? How are these conversations even happening? How are they able to do this with their mouths. It's just unfathomable.
Well, ABC has just released a update to the rumors that Donald Trump might drop out of the race. Let me just read a little of this. According to John Carl, chief White House correspondent for ABC News, party officials are confused, frustrated, even furious with Donald Trump's behavior. Carl told George Stephanopoulos, the Good Morning America host. First of all, I am told RNC Chairman Reince Priebus is furious that he has had multiple discussions with Trump telling him he needs to drastically change course. But here's the news. I'm told senior officials at the party are actively exploring what would happen if Trump dropped out to replace him on the ballot. He is so unpredictable right now. They are so unable to control his message that they don't know and clearly think it is a possibility, which is why they're looking at the rules. Yeah. And they actually, and I don't want to read the whole thing, but they actually do have, the Republicans do have a rule for filling vacancy in nominations. So let me just read a little bit, unless you want to comment first.
No, there's three. I think there's three openings for that, and one of them, the third one, is pretty vague. It's like reason number 1, reason number 2, and reason number 3 for any other reason that we find, like something like that. It's that vague.
Right. Well, here we go. The Republican National Committee is hereby authorized and empowered to fill any and all vacancies which may occur by reason of death, declination, or otherwise of the Republican candidate for President of the United States or the Republican candidate for Vice President of the United States as nominated by the National Convention. Number 2 is, in voting under this rule, the Republican National Committee members representing any state shall be entitled to cast the same number of votes as said state was entitled to cast at the National Convention. Here you go. This is the third one. In the event that the members of the Republican National Committee from any state shall not be in agreement with the casting votes hereunder, the votes of such states shall be divided equally, including fractional votes, among the members of the RNC present or voting by proxy. And finally, no candidate shall be chosen to fill any such vacancy except upon receiving a majority of the votes entitled to be cast in the election. All right, this is the first time I'm looking at this, and I guess I would need to reread it, but what I'm reading here basically says that you're right. They can do whatever they want to do.
Yeah, pretty much. And, I mean, they've got to be just totally freaking grateful for that.
By the way, Paul Manafort, in case you haven't been paying attention, is starting to back away from Trump.
Yeah, we haven't heard a lot about him in the last few days, have we?
No, we haven't. And I think that this is what's happening. I think this is exactly what's happening. Paul Manafort, Ivanka, Donald Jr., again, 3 people we've heard nothing from in the last few days. Others that surround the candidate, Donald Trump, I think he has said, you know what, shut the F up. I know what I'm doing. I know why I'm doing it. Just shut the F up. If you don't like it, walk.
Do you think that's what's going on, or do you think they're going, he's completely lost his mind and I don't want anything to do with it?
Well, both. But I believe that he is controlling the narrative because I can't imagine with that ego that he's letting anybody else do it. And see, how many times have we seen him just do absolutely outrageous things, be castigated by Republicans, and just totally ignore it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd love to be a fly on the wall, but I mean, who knows? It could be a combination of both of our theories here at this point.
Wow.
Yeah. Going back to that clip, I will tell you this: is the Twitterverse, the Twitterati the tweets were not kind to Katrina Pearson. There's a hashtag out there that is hashtag Katrina Pearson history, and they're just relentless. The South was totally winning the Civil War, but then Obama issued a stand-down order. Obama built the pyramids to hide his birth certificate. Yep, it's pretty good.
Well, there's another story that developed today. The United States gave Iran $400 million. And I'll explain that in a moment. And they also have to pay interest of $1.3 billion. That money was actually taken by the U.S. as the Shah of Iran was being overthrown. And so the U.S. held on to that money for obvious reasons. Well, part of the Iran deal was to give that money back. It's their money, and they rightfully should have it. And the United States has earned interest on that money. And so, being the honorable country we are, we will honor that commitment. Donald Trump says that this is Hillary Clinton and Barack Obama's fault. And it says everything about their foreign policy. Oh, but there's only one problem. 1975 is when that money was taken. The deal was always to give the money back when they began to stabilize. It has nothing to do with Barack Obama. And Hillary Clinton was not the Secretary of State at the time that the U.S. agreed to give this money that they rightfully had coming to them back to them. Right. But Donald Trump doesn't know that.
In fact, what he wrote on Twitter, of course, was, quote, our incompetent Secretary of State Hillary Clinton was the one who started talks to give $400 million in cash to Iran. Scandal! Exclamation point.
Untrue! Exclamation point.
And the Post, who I don't have the author off the top of my head, but says, we will leave it up to the readers to decide whether the facts warrant calling this some sort of ransom payment, but Trump is completely off base about Clinton's involvement.
Okay. Well, Donald Trump is a smart guy, right? Donald Trump knows all about foreign policy. The Ukraine is a great example. So we've got a little soundbite from
I know
Donald
exactly
Trump.
where you're going with this one. Let's
play
that now,
brother. Take
Play that now. I do want to remind people that the $400 million payout is part of an overall $1.7 billion settlement of claims, and basically a debt that was part of the deal. It wasn't part of the bargain that we were just giving them $1.7 billion. This was money that was owed to the Iranians that was basically held hostage. But anyway, back to your point. Trump's huge knowledge of foreign policy. Here's the clip.
I think he's the worst president maybe in the history of our country. I think he's been a disaster. He's been weak. He's been ineffective. You look at this so-called recovery, it's setting record lows. It's, I guess, not since 1949 has there been anything like it. You look at home ownership. Look at what happened as an example. He talks about Ukraine. I believe I know far more about foreign policy than he knows. Look at Ukraine. He talks about Ukraine. Well, you know how tough he is, right? How tough he is with Russia. In the meantime, they took over Crimea. And I understood that. And most papers covered what I said accurately. Some didn't because the press is so dishonest. But Crimea, I mean, the Russians took it over under Obama's very powerful leadership. And, you know, he talks about me with Russia. Wouldn't it be a wonderful thing, frankly, if we actually got along with Russia and worked out some kind of a deal where we go in and knock the hell out of ISIS along with NATO and along with countries that are in the area? Wouldn't that be wonderful as opposed to fighting? But Crimea was taken over, and you know this better than anybody because you were covering it a couple of years ago. It was taken over during Obama's regime, big, tough president. So, look, I think he's one of the worst presidents, maybe the worst that we've ever had in the history of our country. I think that Hillary Clinton maybe she has the potential to be even worse.
Right.
She will be terrible.
Is it a fair statement to use the term regime when you're talking about a democracy?
Yeah, I did it constantly during the Bush years.
Well, because you were making an insinuation that, and it was
factually
it
correct.
was because Cheney was part of that, so it was essentially a regime. But
that and I use the word cabal a lot.
did you?
Yeah, I'm just being honest with you. You asked the question, so I'm just being honest.
You were one of those people. Did you draw little? Did you draw little mustaches on Bush too?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Not like Il Duce here.
No. Let me share with you for a moment, and maybe I'll give her a call and get her on, but I had Cindy Sheehan on my program many, many times, dozens of times. And you do know who Cindy Sheehan is, right?
I don't.
Cindy Sheehan, during George Bush's second term, was very vocal about her son who was killed in Iraq. He had gone in with the promise that he would be a clergyman and ended up being an infantryman. And she felt that they were lied to. And, of course, she's a Gold Star mother and dedicated a lot of years of her life to trying to end the war in Iraq. She infamously camped outside George Bush's Crawford Ranch for 26 days in the blistering heat, protesting the Iraq War. She was joined by hundreds upon hundreds of other people. And during that period of time, I had her on the show quite a bit as well. If you just Google her name, you may remember all of this. But it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. And George Bush actually did something honorable. During that 26 days, he gave a press conference where he said that she had every right to do what she was doing, that he understood the loss, that it sickened him that we had to lose men and women to war. But, of course, they kept leaning on the war on terror. You don't have to agree, but at least he had the stones to say her First Amendment rights were protected and she was allowed to say anything she wanted.
Yeah.
So, I'll leave it there.
Yeah, unlike Trump, who made one of the most ridiculous comedic statements possible when he tweeted that Mr. Khan insulted me in front of millions of people. He has no right to do that. And I mean, the thing is, too, is when you're a presidential candidate, you're a candidate to be president, and if you can't take, I don't even know. I mean, you can't take someone insulting you. Really, I mean, does anyone get more than like 51 to 52% of the vote for the most part? So, there's a whole other half of the country that's just going to hate you. And the press isn't going to like you. And, so, of course, he's revoked, the New York Times press credentials, too, which I find hilarious. And then he says they don't write good. They don't write good, Tony. And he said it 5 times, so you can't deny that his English is just deplorable. They don't write good. Good. They don't write good.
Well, yes, you brought this up yesterday. It's time to let that go. Well, we had mentioned the crying baby. And before we move on to some more substantial stuff, like the Purple Heart gaffe, let's play that audio.
The biggest in the world, a Chinese bank. Don't worry about that baby. I love babies. So, I love babies. I hear that baby crying. I like it. What a baby. What a beautiful baby. Don't worry. The mom's running around like, don't worry about it, Ripped us absolutely to shreds. Actually, I was only kidding. You can get the baby out of here. That's all right. Don't worry. I think she really believed me that I love having a baby crying while I'm speaking.
Huh. I don't even know what to say to that. I really don't know what to say to that.
No, I don't. I mean, it's so... I'm so tired of this. It happens every day.
All right.
Tony, every day. Every day.
Well,
every day he gets more stupid.
As you labeled the show yesterday, whatever it was, what did the idiot say today? So maybe what you should do today is what did the idiot say today, part 2, and we'll just keep counting.
Another day of asking what the idiot did. What did that idiot do now?
Right. So let's keep that count going. Day 2. Well, let's talk. Let's play the Purple Heart audio, and then we'll talk about this on the other side because I find this really much more disturbing than the press kind of focused on. But go ahead and play that.
He handed me his Purple Heart. Now I said to him, is that like the real one or is that a copy? And he said, that's my real Purple Heart. I always wanted to get the Purple Heart. This was much easier.
Welcome back to Heart with Us. Donald Trump saying he's always wanted a Purple Heart after he today received one as a gift, I guess, from a member of the audience. As NBC News reported, the decoration, which is awarded to service members who are wounded in combat, was in fact a copy. Well, this comes as Trump faces scrutiny over whether he knows what it is or what it means to sacrifice for his country, to actually...
Yeah. Chris Matthews has really been on fire the last couple of days over this. Everything. I mean, he is just absolutely on fire. But let's for a moment focus on Donald Trump's statement. I've always wanted a Purple Heart. This was much easier. How offensive do you think that was to people, veterans and military families and, people that have been lost to war?
Yeah, no kidding. And I loved Tammy Duckworth's tweet. She had a picture of herself in the hospital getting her Purple Heart, and I think did she lose both legs?
Yes, and an arm.
And got a Purple Heart, and that's who gets Purple Hearts. So it's not like people are lining up to go, I can't wait to get my Purple Heart.
Well, I did not know, just very quickly, as a side note, my dad served in the Korean War. He never, ever, 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 ever talked about it, except one time he said to me, I promised God that if he got me home safely, I would honor him and go to church every week and, give money, which he did. My dad was a devout Catholic. I did not know until after my dad passed away that he had a Purple Heart.
No kidding.
Which I now have. And I'll never know why. And my stepmother, who's a lovely woman, I asked her, did he ever tell you about his military service? And she said he just refused to talk about it.
Wow.
So I don't know what the man went through, but he was obviously wounded in war.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
It's interesting. It was really quite a profound discovery for me. And so, yeah, I take a little offense, more than a little offense, to what Donald Trump had to say about the Purple Heart. See, really, I call you professor. I don't do that jokingly. You're a very deep thinker. And Donald Trump obviously is not. Is that maybe one of the reasons why you're having such a difficult time processing him?
I'm not having, I don't have a hard time processing him. I have a hard time processing his supporters. I've told you and our audience several times that, I have friends that are Republican and that watch Fox News, and and the conversation came up the other day, and I said, yeah, and and plus he's going to insult Gold Star families, and the response from this guy, who as you know, I have a lot of respect for. He goes, yeah, well, that guy, they paid him off, and he's just, a Muslim waving his constitution like an idiot. He doesn't even know what he's talking about. And I was there with two other people that I know really well, and I looked at this guy and I said, you know what? I'm done. And I walked away because I can't do it anymore. I can't get into conversations like that anymore. I can't understand why I would talk to someone on that topic that's their reaction. Now, as much as you don't like maybe Muslims, or as much as you don't like Hillary Clinton, the correct response, the worst possible correct response, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
The best response is, if you're a Trump supporter, go, yeah, I think maybe he went a little too far there. That was that, but to defend him, and then as also a veteran himself that this guy is, to actually denigrate Mr. Khan in his reaction in our own conversation. It just, it makes me lose respect for people, Tony. And and this is also a person who has a belief in God, calls themselves a Christian, and I'm sorry, but that's not Christian. That's not nice.
Wow. That is one of the issues that really kind of eats at me, this whole, I'm a Christian. They talk about evangelical Christians, and what's Christian about supporting Donald Trump? Period. I mean, I don't think I need to define it any further than that. What is Christian about supporting Donald Trump?
There is nothing Christian about supporting Donald Trump. Listen, I have family members, not immediate family, but close extended family, who are church-going, Catholic, attend Mass regularly, and listen to Rush Limbaugh and think that Donald Trump should be our next president.
Well, speaking of Rush Limbaugh, he just renewed his contract with iHeartMedia for an undisclosed sum of money for 4 more years.
Oh, yay! Did you see the issue on the Post with Melania Trump in her
nakedness?
Well, gay nakedness.
Yes,
right. And so Rush Limbaugh's reaction to that photo was that that'll help Donald Trump shore up the LGBTQ vote. I mean, do you the level of ignorance, right? It's like, well, we'll show 2 naked women, and one of them's the nominee's wife. That should get the gays interested, right? I mean, that'll bring the vote in, because she's involved in some kind of lesbian photo op. So that'll do it. I mean, why not? I mean, how do these people even call themselves adults anymore, or expect to be referred to as adults?
Yeah, this is just stunning.
It's getting stupid.
But you know what? It's real.
Yeah, I know.
And it may be, it may be getting, not maybe, it is stupid. It's asinine. It's immature. It's childish. It is so outside the bounds of respect and dignity. And I could go on and on and on and on. But the Republican Party and the media allowed this to happen.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, they gave him free media. They let him roll with it. No one called him on his garbage. He just kept rolling over everyone. And it's wonderful that people are coming out and saying, I don't agree with what he says. But, like Obama made pretty clear, not one of them has rescinded their endorsement. I was actually surprised that Chris Christie, came out against Donald Trump, at least his comments.
Yes, I was surprised as well. And, I reminded people this morning when I tweeted this out that Chris Christie was the first one to endorse Donald Trump out of the class of 2016 candidates. I don't know. This is just absolutely asinine. All right, we've got a little time left. There's a little bit of audio, so I'll let you decide what direction you want to go.
Oh, really? Let's go with those 2 Morning Joe clips, shall we? He had,
sure.
I'm trying to think who this guy is. Why don't you tell us? Hayden is General Michael Hayden.
Yes, General Michael Hayden.
Morning Joe, and here's the first clip.
What concerns you most about Donald Trump?
How erratic he is. Joe, I can argue about this position or that position. I do that with the current president. But he's inconsistent. And when you're the head of a global superpower, inconsistency, unpredictability, those are dangerous things. They frighten your friends and they tempt your enemies. And so I would be very, very concerned.
General Hayden, Harold Ford, very, very quickly. Who amongst your peers that you respect greatly, whether they think like you or not think like you, that you know that's advising Mr. Trump?
No one.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
Well, I have to follow up with that, and I'll be very careful here. Several months ago, a foreign policy expert on the international level went to advise Donald Trump, and 3 times he asked about the use of nuclear weapons. 3 times he asked, at one point, if we have them, why can't we use them? That's one of the reasons why he just doesn't have foreign policy experts around.
Trump asked 3 times.
3 times in an hour briefing, why can't we use nuclear weapons? With that.
Be careful, America, and be careful, Republican leaders.
Wow.
Yeah. Well, so the guy that they had on was Michael Hayden. He's a retired United States Air Force 4-star general, and also former director of National Security Agency and principal deputy director of National Intelligence, and the director of the CIA. So that's who Michael Hayden is, and the question remains: is it going to make a difference what he thinks? Here's the thing, Tony. Is recent statistics just came out, and I think it was the New York Times or the Washington Post. They have an interactive chart of the primaries were determined for both candidates by about 11% of the population. I don't know how they are running, 51 to 42% right now. I don't quite understand how you can poll and get that Donald Trump is at 42%. I would like to think that there's a level of sanity and intelligence in this country that this is beyond a possibility. We're at a critical moment right now where the rest of the world is looking at us like we're just complete morons and out of our minds at this point. I hear it from people all over the world that I'm friends with. They're like, what the hell is going on over there? And I just don't know and it's just going to be more of this. It's going to be another week of this, and then we're going to be back on next week, and there'll be another week of it, and then there'll be another week of Donald Trump saying just ridiculous, ludicrous things, and people defending him and going, well, what he really meant to say was that rape is okay, and we should just rape them back, or well, what I said about blacks, I wasn't completely serious, and no, I don't think gays should actually be murdered in the streets, but that's what they do in other countries, and that's what I was referring to. I mean, it's just going to be an endless stream of ridiculous comments from the mind of someone who has apparently just completely lost it.
Okay, well, we are running out of time, so we will be back tomorrow with more idiocy. And looks like our timing is good because somebody's cutting their grass, which will get louder as time goes by. Z, give the 411 again on TNZ Talk.
Yeah, the 411 on TNZ Talk. Find us at tnztalk.com. You can find us, friend us, follow us, read our archives, go to support, find out how to support us. It'll take you to our Patreon page. Go to the support page. From there, you can find our Patreon page. And also, ratings help us a lot. We are now on iHeart, Stitcher, and, of course, iTunes. And as many of you out there know, iTunes ratings are a key to getting us found on iTunes, that if we get more stars, more people are more likely to find us. And that's it. You can contact us from there. And, Tony, the phone number again, if you don't mind. 559-898-2551 or 559-TZ-TALK-1, and that's the number 1. So please feel free to leave a message, and chances are excellent, better than excellent, that it'll end up on the program. With that said, we're going to wrap it up for today. We will be back tomorrow with another program. For Richard Zombeck, I am Tony Trupiano, and as always, we ask that you be well.
Oh yeah, can you feel it? Just over the credits, just riffing now. Words and chords. Not the poetry and the real thing, but not bad for an ad-lib. Not good, but... not long enough, so just do a little bit more, and that's nearly done. That's the final credit there. That's the end.